About a month ago, I went and purchased the Tamron 50-400mm lens. I've already done one video talking about my experience with the lens. It was actually the first time I went out and used it. And in that video, I spoke a lot about the specs and the features of the lens. What I want to do is talk to you a little bit about my recent experience. When I used it the first time out of the zoo, there wasn't a lot of opportunities to photograph animals that were moving quickly. I did photograph some birds, but nothing flying. And recently I went out to the beach to do some photography, and I got an opportunity to go ahead and photograph some seagulls that were flying. That was really my first opportunity to see how well this lens performed as far as autofocus tracking for bird photography. A group of pelicans were flying towards me, and I managed to get a couple of decent shots of that. None of these photos are prize winners or anything like that, but it was just an opportunity to see how well the 50-400mm lens performed using the Nikon Z for bird photography. Originally, I was selecting a square. I did use bird and eye autofocus tracking, but I was keeping it within that square, and I was not doing so good. Then I went ahead and turned on the 3D tracking, and that worked out pretty good, and I managed to get a couple of really nice photos. The day was overcast. Because this is a 6.3 lens, the combination of needing a fast shutter speed to get sharp photos and the birds in flight, I ended up using a pretty high ISO for these images, even though it's like 10 o'clock in the morning, is what I needed to do to go ahead and make sure that I capture some sharp photographs. I didn't want them to be soft because my shutter speed wasn't fast enough. I also had a great opportunity to see how well the 50-400mm Tamron lens for the Nikon Z system performed photographing butterflies. This was quite the challenge, trying to go ahead and get a box and place it on the eye of the butterfly. So you can imagine how difficult that is. These butterflies have dark black eyes and they're very small on the viewfinder. But I thought the lens and the camera performed well. The neat thing about it is that a lot of times I was struggling with the autofocus because of the fact that there's branches and twigs and flowers and leaves behind the butterflies. It's brighter and more contrasting behind them. Something that I don't typically do is using the manual autofocus ring on the Tamron 50-400. I would go ahead and get the focus close to the area where the butterfly is, and then I would go ahead and hit the shutter button so that it would actually focus on the butterfly. Pretty happy with the images that I got. One thing that I'm really happy with is how close the Tamron 50-400mm lens focused. Went ahead and took a couple of pictures of some flowers just to see how close I could get, and I'm pretty happy with these images. I did it at 50mm, 70mm, then I even did some photos at 400mm. The Tamron 50-400mm lens for the Nikon Z system does not come with a lens collar. I believe Tamron sells one, and it's over $100. And I went ahead and went to Amazon and I purchased a lens collar from a brand that I've purchased from in the past. I don't know exactly how to say the name. I believe it's Hogue. I'm able to mount it on the lens without any issues. This one has like a felt inside of it so it doesn't scratch your lens. It works really well. You loosen it up a little bit and you're able to go ahead and turn the lens. The nice thing about the lens collar is that the plate is Arca Swiss, and you also have quarter 20s on there. So you have multiple ways of mounting it. The way that I enjoy to mount it is to go ahead and use the Arca Swiss. The 50-400mm lens is a lens that I see me doing travel photography with. And it's actually one of the main reasons that I purchased it. I want to start doing a lot of landscape photographs with telephoto lenses, because it's something that I've not done a lot of in the past, and it'll be a different look than what I've been doing. And I wanted to make sure that I mounted the lens and camera by the lens collar and not from the actual camera tripod mount, because it'll tend to be front heavy and the tripod always ends up moving. I also like the fact that I can turn it vertically. It works a whole lot better, in my opinion, than if you mount the camera on a tripod and turn the camera vertically for photographs. It never works out. The camera always ends up moving. I managed to take a couple of photographs inside the aviary. None of the birds were flying or anything like that, but I got a couple of nice headshots, and you can see in these images just how sharp the eyes are, and that's where I placed the focus box, and I'm pretty impressed with the image quality of these photographs. started to sprinkle a bit on me, and the lens got wet a little bit. Came out of it with no issues. It wasn't a downpour or anything like that, but I wasn't worried about it because the lens is weather sealed. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video regarding the Tamron 50-400mm lens. I ask you to please hit the like button and subscribe, and go to my channel and see the video that I did with my initial impressions of the 50-400mm lens. I go ahead and talk to you about some of the specs and share some of the photographs. And I think you'll find that video worth watching, because it'll give you some of the specs and highlights of this lens.